All right, ladies and dudes, it's a Frisky Friday. You know why? Because Steve Buchanan and Matt LaMarca are on your screens, getting ahead of this MLB slate that we have going tonight. 14 games on the docket. We're going to be talking all about it here for the next hour or so, maybe 45 minutes, maybe 30 minutes. Do I want to, talk about this the whole Friday night? Probably not. But you know what? We're doing this for the people. We do this because we get paid. And that's what we're going to do leading you up to this slate to hopefully make you some money. As always, I'm with my co-host, Matt LaMarca. How you doing, my friend?
I'm all right. I've been a little better, but we're hanging in there.
Yep.
We got a nice little baseball slate here. 14 games to choose from on the main slate. Only game that is not on the main slate involves my favorite team. So no worries about biases today, right? We can just take the Mets and just scratch them off.
So I was on a show yesterday. Somebody asked me, what did I think the likelihood of a Subway Series was this year? What do you think?
5%.
That's it? Only 5?
Well, I mean, I think, the Yankees, what percentage of a chance do you give them to come out of the American League?
The Yankees?
Yes.
The highest of them all.
Okay, but what does that mean? Is that 100%? Is that 75, 50, 40?
I'd give them 40.
Okay, 40%. Now, what do you give the Mets to win the National League?
Yeah. 15.
Okay, so 15% of 40% is basically 5.
That's right. You're right. Yep. That's really how you compute that. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Well, there you go. Next time someone asks you that, I'm going to break that down for them exactly as you did. I'm going to go back. I'm going to record that past 30 seconds, and that's going to be my go-to answer moving forward. You know what? Before we even get to today's slate, can I just drop something on you real quick?
Please.
Oh, I'm going to go to the sports book because this is where we got to get this information. I think I've seen enough. I think I've seen enough to make this play. It's a futures play. And this is where I'm going with this. All right. I'm going to go to the futures. We're going to go to the division winner. Here's where I'm going. I've seen enough.
Okay.
I've seen enough. I think it's time. I think it's absolutely time to do this. And I know this is not usually how we start the show. And usually, we want to talk about today. But you know what? I was just doing some research today, looking at schedules coming up and everything. I think it's time. I think it's time to take the Padres to come out of the West. I think that's the team that's going to do it.
I don't hate it. I mean, my thing is, I continue to think the Dodgers are the best team in the National League. But I felt that way last year, and the Giants won the division. So, I think that if you you're obviously have to be very bullish on the Padres to make that bet, but they really haven't hit all that much this year. They should get Tatis back in the near future.
Yep.
Hopefully Machado is okay. It sounds like he's nearing a return.
Yep.
So if they can continue to pitch and get a little bit better offensively, then I see no reason why they can't win the division.
Yeah, I think so. And the Dodgers just keep dealing with injuries. Tyler Anderson just went on the IL today as well. So they just lost another pitcher. Walker Buehler is out for the, for an amount of time I don't think is even specified. I think initially when he went on the IL, it was between 10 to 12 weeks. So you're putting him after the All-Star break. And quite frankly, it's not like he was exactly one of their best pitchers to begin with. And Julio Urias has been anything but dominant. You look at his advanced numbers and everything, they're not that good. They're really not that good. His strikeouts are down, giving up a lot more contact. It's hard to poke a lot of holes in the Padres team that is still without their best hitter, and he's still to come. So when I look at plus 260, man, I think I'm taking that call.
Lineup is just so freaking good, though.
No doubt. I do not disregard that at all. But that lineup is also as good as it is. But if they're also giving up a ton of runs in the interim because the pitching is too injured and all that, that obviously poses an issue. So I just think that. Go ahead.
I kind of have a similar feeling about the NL East. I think I would rather take the Braves to win the NL East at plus 210 than the Padres to win the West at plus 260. I just think that the Mets are not nearly as good as the Dodgers. And I think that the Braves are arguably better than the Padres. So, if we obviously the Braves put themselves in a big hole to start the year, but they've cut that deficit down. I want to say it's like 4 games now, 4.5 games, something like that. They've already made up, double-digit games almost in the standings. And these two teams still have a lot of games left to play against each other. They've played just one series so far.
Yep.
So
are you being attacked?
No, I'm dropping stuff all over my desk.
Oh, I thought somebody was attacking you.
I think it's all my Mets paraphernalia revolting against me.
Coming off the walls.
Yeah, I'm going to take Braves plus 210.
No, I think that's a fair play. I do like both of those a lot, but just something to consider. I was thinking about that a lot today, and it's like, you know what? I'm not even going to announce this on Twitter yet. I'm going to run it by my friend Matt LaMarca because I trust his instincts a lot. So we're going to go with that. But I think I'm going to be taking.
How about Mariners plus 3,500? Are we double dipping?
You don't think I've already double dipped? Can I just point out one thing? See now you've really done it. Can I just point out one thing about the Astros though, and why I do think
awesome.
that. Well, okay, but this is why I actually think there's some serious regression coming up for them.
Okay.
They've had one of the easiest schedules in Major League Baseball to start through the first couple months. Would you be surprised to know that they've only played teams that are over 500 18 times this season?
Yeah, that seems low.
Very low. It's the lowest in the league.
They did just sweep my Metsies in a 2-game series. Yordan Alvarez is just the AL MVP race is going to be really interesting this year.
Oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
Obviously, I think Judge is a deserved favorite at the moment. He's been incredible, but you look at what Alvarez is doing and what Jose Ramirez is doing. Both of those guys, I think, are strong candidates to overtake him should Judge get injured or slow down a bit. And then obviously the Halos guys are in their mix too. So I think this could be like a really good MVP race. A lot of strong candidates.
No doubt. And it's, as I sit here and kick my ring, like everybody's just going crazy on the show today. I was talking about this yesterday on a couple shows that I was on. The best value on the board for MVP is by far Jose Ramirez at plus 850. That's such a crazy number for him for what he's doing thus far.
He's been incredible. There's no denying that fact. I worry if the Guardians are good enough for that to matter. I know they're in first place in the division at the moment. If you think that's sustainable, then yes, Ramirez is a fantastic value. But like, that's what makes Alvarez a slightly better play for me, is that Houston is obviously a very, very good baseball team. You don't have to worry about some of the competition factors. Like if the Guardians end up finishing the season at 500, which they would have signed up for, or their fans would have signed up for at the beginning of the season.
Definitely.
I don't know if that's enough to really put Jose Ramirez in the conversation.
I will say though, Ramirez does have a chance at being one of those 30-30 guys. And that's like a dying art in baseball now, but he has a legit chance. And he is the only guy really in this whole circle of guys in the MVP that has a chance.
Nobody runs anymore.
No. And especially
who's leading the National League in steals?
In National League?
Yes.
It's going to be someone so random like Willie Adames or something.
John Birdie, who has barely played for the Marlins.
Oh, John Birdie. Okay. Does he really?
I mean, to be fair, he's been like a dynamo on the bases. He's really, really good. But yeah, he hasn't even been a full-time player all year. And he's leading the National League in steals.
Well, we know who's leading the league overall, though.
I don't.
It's Julio Rodriguez. You're shoo-in for American League of Rookie of the Year. Right. You've lost all value. He's got it wrapped it up already. But yes, Ramirez, I think, is a very strong candidate because he is the only guy that steals out of all these favorites right now, of all the top guys. Trout doesn't even run anymore. Trout over the past 3 years, I think, has 5 steals total. He has 0 this year.
For me, it's hard to back either of the Angels guys because I think they're going to kind of cancel each other out.
Yeah.
You want to talk about, a team that isn't contending. If I'm concerned about Ramirez, I have to be concerned about those other 2 guys.
No doubt, especially after that free fall they did and they haven't really recovered since. But I agree with you a lot. But yeah, just that note on the Astros, haven't played good teams all year. So there's going to be some regression coming. So if you like any of those teams in the West, good Lord, now's the time. now is absolutely the time because the Astros are like, look at these numbers. That's insane. Minus 2,500, and we're not even in July. Come on,
I'll be honest,
that's insane.
I think I would take a sprinkle on the Rangers at plus 8,000.
Oh, no chance.
They're in second place in that division
because everybody's under 500. That the whole division, aside from the Athletics, are separated by like 3 games. So yes, they're in second place, but a couple losses in the whole division rearranges.
But one of these things is not like the other, Bukes. LA 20-1, Seattle 35-1, Rangers 80-1.
Yep. No, you're right. You're right. Look, I know 80-1 is embedded in people's minds because that was Robbie Ray last year at Cy Young when I said to do it.
The new Robbie Ray, the Texas Rangers.
The Texas Rangers.
No, I'm just saying, that's what people are saying on Twitter.
I understand. Oh, I get it. Okay. We're like 10 minutes into the show. We haven't even talked about tonight, but that was good. Hey, you know what? We should do that more often. That was a lot. That was good overview. I've doubled down on the Mariners, so we've established that. Okay, let's talk about tonight. 14 games on the slate. Like we mentioned, the Mets game is the only one that is not on the slate tonight. Good matchup tonight, too, which is unfortunate with Taijuan Walker and Sandy Alcantara. If you want to play on that, give me under 7 runs. That's the play on that game if you want to do that. Any thought on that?
Makes sense to me. I mean, Sandy has been a machine, so.
Yep, and Taijuan Walker has not fluttered yet. It's coming.
Yeah, I mean, he's a guy who's xERA is like a 1.5 higher than his actual ERA. Yeah. But something has changed about him, right? His strikeout numbers have been way down all year, but over his last 2 starts, I think he's had double-digit strikeouts or close to it. So yeah. Maybe he's made some sort of tweak to either his repertoire, his mechanics, etc. So if he's going to continue to be that guy, then yeah, I think this is a really good pitching matchup.
And he was also pitching on a bum knee last year that he got surgically repaired over the offseason. So that also helps too. The knee, very pivotal in pitching. You kind of need your knees to be healthy to do this. Looking at the top guys tonight, you got Verlander against the Yankees, tough. NOLA against the Padres, tough. Severino against the Astros, tough. And then PIVETTA against the Guardians. Good matchup. And then Manoah. Let's not forget about Manoah going against the
Guardians. That is not a good matchup, sir.
Yes, but
they have the lowest strikeout rate in the league by a mile.
They do. But also Nick PIVETTA is like the best pitcher in the American League since the month of May.
So if you want to make the case that Nick PIVETTA is going to be under-owned tonight, he's going to be undervalued, I fully support that. I have a GPP article up. I like Nick PIVETTA tonight.
Yeah.
But to say that he has a good matchup is just not correct.
I think that's fair. I think you put it better than I did initially. I think that is the correct way to put it, that he is going to be undervalued. He's going to be under-owned tonight. But the way that he's pitched does not warrant that. The matchup itself, though,
there's no doubt about it.
And for a team that traded him away that could absolutely use a starter right now in the Phillies, they're probably looking at Nick PIVETTA and going, WTF. What we gave this guy away for a bag of balls. But looking at all those guys, Manoah included, do you really feel strong about any of them? Because I don't. I don't at all.
I think that Nola's going to be the guy that emerges as the chalk from this tier. He's pitched really well recently. He's over 30 in 3 of his last 5. And the Padres are kind of a middle of the road matchup, right? They are like 18th, I think, in WRC plus against right-handed pitchers, and they likely don't have Machado tonight. So it's a decent matchup, right? He has the lowest Vegas opponent implied team total of this stud tier. So yep. I think he's the guy that most people are going to flock to, which to me makes him the least desirable from a tournament perspective, because I don't think that there's a ton that separates most of these guys. Right. I kind of like taking a flyer with PIVETTA or Manoah or Justin Verlander, right? I mean, Justin Verlander, he's cooled down a bit after a torrid start to the year, but the guy has been one of the best pitchers in baseball this year, and good pitching can beat good hitting, right? We talk about how the Yankees are just this elite offensive juggernaut all the time, but it's not like the Yankees can't get shut out, right? It's possible. So I like the idea of going with a more spread approach as opposed to just loading up on NOLA, which I think is what a lot of people are going to do.
Yeah, my only concern with Verlander is that obviously the start is in New York. If this was in Houston, I'd feel probably a lot better than that. But, we saw last night Aaron Hicks hit a, that 3-run shot to tie the game, but it, goes to the short porch in Yankee Stadium. And, it's a pop up in many other places. Be mad all you want. That's just a dimensions. I'm just shooting math at you right here. And Verlander has been giving up a decent amount of fly balls. And in this stadium, when it starts to take place, there is an off chance that, Verlander kind of, stumbles into a quote unquote bad start in this one. But his fly ball rate's up to 41% on the year. That's, a little bit higher than he was in 2020 before he was shut down. But he's been giving up a lot of fly balls for the past few years that he's been healthy. So that is always a concern with him. But when it comes to this lineup, it's a lineup that just all they do is hit fly balls. Like that's the issue. Like it really doesn't calm down until you get to like Kiner Falefa in the 8th spot, and then you got Higashioka in the 9th spot, and then you start all over again. That's just kind of how this lineup is. So at 10,600, that's just really steep for me. That's where I kind of put it up and go. I can't do 10-6 for Verlander against the Yankees tonight.
It's fair. It's why he's going to check in with 10% ownership, maybe even a little bit less. And I'm not saying I'm going all in on Verlander. I'm just saying I'll be above 10%. That's just kind of how I'm approaching the top options. I'm going to spray it out a little bit. I do think I agree with you, though, that PIVETTA is my favorite of this sort of tier.
I will say Manoah is right there for me, though, going against the Brew Crew, who have just been absolutely abysmal this month. They're 25th in runs scored in the month of June. That puts them in the same company as teams like the Oakland Athletics, the Detroit Tigers, and then you have Manoah, who has just been, nearly unhittable in about 90% of his starts. Obviously, he had a rough start against the Yankees his last time out, but, no fault to him there. But the rest of the way, striking out guys a ton, and the Brewers are a team that is going to strike out a lot. So 9,500 kind of feels like the starting point for me when it comes to starting pitchers. 9,800 because I do like PIVETTA, but 9,800 for PIVETTA, 9,500 for Manoah. That's where I think it really starts for me there. And then after that, Jeffrey Springs has kind of really quietly put together a solid campaign as of late. Going against the Pirates tonight, no real bats that you're worried about there. I will say Michael Chavis has actually been really strong against lefties. That's really the only bat that you worry about, because there's also no Cabrian Hayes tonight, one of the more notable absences tonight. So now you take out Hayes, and it's like, boy, this lineup looks rough. So Jeffrey Springs is someone that I think, people aren't even going to recognize on a name basis, but I think he's one of the stronger plays on this slate tonight.
Yeah, Springs is the mega chalk. I'm seeing him projected for close to like 50% ownership tonight. And I think it's a great spot for him, right? The Pirates, we know that they've struggled all year. I do think that their lineup has improved recently.
Oh, no doubt.
Calling up Sawinski and O'Neal Cruz, like those are two big additions, but both of those guys left-handed hitters. Mm-hmm. So it's not a huge concern for Springs. My issue with Springs is he's not like a huge strikeout guy. He's roughly a strikeout per inning.
Yeah.
And he doesn't go deep into games, right? He can go 5-6 innings, but that's pretty much it. He started the year in the bullpen. He's not really who is going to be a threat to go more than 6. So he's up to 8,500. I think he's a great bet to return value. I don't know if he's a great bet to put up like a tournament winning score.
No, that's I think that's completely fair. That's a fair assessment of him. But like for me, it's like I feel like there's going to be a decent amount of ownership in that 10K range, and if that is the case, then you're most likely not going to guys like Springs, because you need to go down the board if you want to even out your roster here, because we have 3 guys in the 10K range, and then you got PIVETTA and Manoah at 95 above. So you got some really expensive options at the top there. So Springs, even though obviously you said that he's going to be very popular by the projected ownership, I still have some interest in using him tonight. I wanted to bring up KOPECH tonight because he's been so strange this year. Immense strikeout potential, right? Like he was somebody that the White Sox coveted. He was part of that Chris Sale trade with the Boston Red Sox. It was one of the top pieces in the trade, but he has been so difficult to figure out. And now he's 9K going up against the Orioles. I really want to like him a lot tonight, but I'm always like, well, I could pay 9K for him, but then I could go down to Springs, or I could just pay a little bit more and get PIVETTA. And I feel like if I'm thinking something like that, maybe the majority of people are also thinking that. So that actually might suppress his ownership despite going up against the Orioles, who are just a strikeout machine.
Yeah, Kopech's an interesting case, right? Because he has been a premier strikeout pitcher in the past. He averaged like 13 and a half strikeouts per 9 innings last year, but that number is way down. It's under 9 this season. And it hasn't stopped him from putting together a really good year. He's got a 2.38 ERA. A lot of his advanced metrics suggest he is due for some regression. He's got a 194 BABIP. Yeah, that's unsustainable. Only 5% of his fly balls have turned into home runs. That's unsustainable. So I'm fine with selling Kopech right now at 9K. I just think with the other pitchers on this slate, I feel a little bit more comfortable with their upside, despite the fact that it's a decent matchup for him.
One other name I want to throw out there, because I just think that the matchup is interesting for him, and he's way down the board, is Mitch Keller going up against the Tampa Bay Rays.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't been in tune with what's going on with the Rays, they are missing a ton of starters right now. And let's just actually go and do this here. I'll bring up their lineup for tonight, and you look at this lineup and you're like, what in the hell is this? Like, this looks like their AAA lineup at this point, right? Like, unrecognizable. And you look at the pricing too, that just tells you everything. Like, this is like an Oakland Athletics price team. And this is a team that's in third place in the American League East right now. So now you have Mitch Keller going at 6,700 against this team. And the average strikeout rate of this team, of the confirmed lineups, is the highest on the slate. It's at 30%. So Mitch Keller at 6,700, I'll say, at the beginning of the day, I wasn't overly interested. Once that lineup came up, I was like, boy, am I going to be overweight on Mitch Keller tonight? I don't know if I'm going to be, but I might be.
Yeah, I think he's a pretty strong play. I mean, there's not a lot of guys in this low tier that have appeal, but you put the lineup up there. I mean, the Rays have been a strikeout friendly team all year. So I think that this is a pretty good spot for Keller. If he can give us 5-6 innings with a couple earned runs and a handful of strikeouts, that's pretty good for a $6,700 pitcher. I will gladly take that. The other guy in this range that I'm kind of considering is Cole Irvin. Not a great pitcher. He has posted some decent results of late, but it's against the Royals. He had a really good start against the Royals in his last outing. And he's dirt cheap, right? He's 6,400. So I think he should carry less ownership than Keller. That kind of makes him my preferred GPP option. But I think that both of those two guys, that's sort of the players that you're looking at if you need a cheap SP2 tonight.
Yeah, I'm with you there too. And it's kind of strange too, because it's like the Royals are notoriously one of the toughest teams to strike out in all of baseball. It's for the past few years, I feel like it's been Astros and Royals, and it's kind of just stayed that way. The Royals are kind of slowly starting to creep up the ranks a little bit there when it comes to K rate, especially over the past like month and a half or so. Like, they're still a tough team to strike out. Don't get me wrong, but it's not like before or like at the Astros level where the Astros are consistently at like 16 or 17%. Like, this team is really starting to creep up there. So while the overall numbers still indicate this is a tough team to strike out, if you start to shrink that down a bit, really since like the middle of May to now, those numbers are a lot higher than you'd expect. So not crazy about Irvin. I'd probably prefer Keller if I'm making it here, but I think that's a good goal too against a Royals team that is just really struggling as of late. Let's move over to the hitting side, unless you had anything else for any of the starting pitchers tonight.
No, I think that's a good overview.
Cool. All right, so let's go over to the hitting side tonight. and some teams that you can stack. I think I'm starting my stacks with the Cardinals going up against Kyle Hendricks tonight. And a big reason for that is how bad Kyle Hendricks has been, no matter where he's been on the road, at home. He's been putrid. He's on the road in St. Louis tonight. The thing that has been so bad with Hendricks, his numbers against lefties are like absurdly bad. Absurdly bad. 35 and 2/3 innings against lefties so far this season. He's got a 4.13 WOBA against them, 6.75 FIP, 10 of the 13 home runs he's allowed, and 12 extra base hits, doubles, and triples in there. Now you have the Cardinals, who start off their lineup with two good lefties at that. You got Nolan Gorman batting second. You got Tommy Edman hitting first. We got Brendan Donovan batting fifth. Dylan Carlson batting seventh. He's a switch hitter. I think there's a lot of good bats in this Cardinals lineup tonight, and they're not overly expensive either. So I think I'm starting my stacks with the Cardinals and then kind of just building out my lineups after there. But they are one of the some of the more crucial pieces that I'll be getting in. I'm always going to have all my lineups have Edman and Gorman. The two of those combined, you're getting them at 8,900. Good pop. Edman should be on base a couple times. I think that's a good way to start your lineups, but I'm definitely stacking the Cardinals overall as well.
I think that's an interesting call. For me, I am starting with the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Oh, really?
I am just picking on Rony Garcia as much as humanly possible.
He's been bad.
Rony Garcia has a 7.67 xERA this season.
Right.
He ranks in the first percentile in average exit velocity, hard hit rate, xWOBA, xERA, xSlug, barrel rate. Every metric you're looking at, Rony Garcia is among the worst in baseball at it. Opposing hitters are making hard contact 58% of the time. 58% of the time. And the Diamondbacks are pretty cheap, right? I mean, you've got Dalton Varsho at leadoff hitter. He's 4,600. He's their most expensive guy. They've got 6 batters at 3,900 or cheaper. I think they're my favorite offense. I don't expect them to be, overly contrarian, right? I don't think that they're going to surprise a ton of people, right? Everybody can look up the same Rony Garcia numbers that I just did. But I think that they're just too cheap to pass up. And that's how you can get to two of those, 8K plus type pitchers tonight.
Yeah, Garcia started the year in the bullpen for the Tigers. They've stretched him out. He's been a starter now. He's made 5 starts in his last 5 appearances, 6.38 ERA, 358 WOBA, and 13 of the 24 hits that he's allowed as a starter have gone for extra bases. Just absolutely brutal. Absolutely brutal. And this stack, like you mentioned, is uber efficient in terms of price point. Like Alek Thomas is 2,900. I don't know why. Like he's been better than a $2,900 hitter. Like you look through the salaries for the $2,900 hitters. I dare you to give me somebody that's been as productive as he has since he's come up. I mean, look at the numbers over his past 10 games on the season. He's been great. He's great. He's great. I got a National Treasures rookie to 99 of him. If you'd like, it's up for sale.
Yeah, send it over.
Yeah, send something my way too. But I think that's a great call. The team total on the Arizona Diamondbacks tonight is at 4.5. Please give me the over on that. Although I will say the only caveat to that is that the Tigers bullpen has actually been fairly decent as of late. So there is that run. Yes,
that is. I learned that the other day. They scratched their starter. And I said, all right, it's going to be a bullpen game. And I looked it up and they had like the second best bullpen ERA. And I said,
yeah,
that was not what I expected. But,
right.
Even if, let's say the best case scenario, they get Garcia out of there after 3 innings, right?
Yeah.
If that happens, it means that they had tremendous success in those 3 innings.
Yep.
So I'm fine with, picking on a weak starter, even though the Tigers bullpen has been pretty good.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's how you get around that.
Love it.
Over 2.5 of the first 5 innings. Give me a break. Yeah, I'll take that. I'll take them. I'll take them getting 3 runs against Rony Garcia. Come on now. Come on. And then you can even double dip, take that and the over on the team total overall. You can do that. DraftKings Sportsbook's not going to stop you. And they're not going to
Maybe a
stop you.
little same game parlay with Alek Thomas to go yard.
Oh, we do. Well, I'm not. Yeah, build it yourself. I'm not going to sit there and embarrass myself trying to navigate it all. But yeah, that's possible. You can do it. Okay, just take my word for it. You can go and do it. I do think that's a great call though. I do like that one a lot. Toronto, I think, is also going to be up there for me when it comes to stacking tonight against Adrian Hauser. This is one of those instances though that I do worry about slightly because the matchup against Hauser is great. He's been putrid. He's allowed at least 4 runs in 3 of his last 5 starts, which is, obviously a red flag going up against his offense. But the Brewers bullpen is elite. I don't like throwing the word elite around often. The Brewers bullpen is elite.
The back half of it for sure.
Yes, very good. So that's where I kind of like sit here and go, okay, do I want to waste? I don't want to say waste, but do I want to, use a lot of my resources because the Blue Jays are very expensive in this matchup against Hauser? Because it's like, I feel like you're almost guaranteed to at least get at least 3 runs off of Hauser, but is that going to be good enough to pay up for these guys? I don't know. I'm not convinced of that. So like, I'm really torn because this team has been crushing it lately offensively. We just saw that the other day. Like they just like if Lucas Giolito wasn't broken already, he is shattered now after facing the Blue Jays a couple of days ago. Bo Bichette sealed his fate with that grand slam. But it's like, do I want to pay, $5,800 for Vlad, $55 for Bo, Kirk batting cleanup at $4,300? Is that worth it against Hauser? But then the elite back end of that bullpen. Do you have any thoughts on that? Because that's been a tough thing for me today.
I think that the Blue Jays are a very interesting team. I don't think that a lot of people are going to go there just because, the implied team total is like it's not as high as you want it to be for a team that is this expensive, right? You can get teams with similar implied team totals today without breaking the bank, right? You can take the Cardinals, you can take the White Sox, you can take the Angels, right? I mean, the Angels have a couple of really expensive guys in Trout and Ohtani, but the rest of that team is dirt cheap.
Right.
So I think that makes the Blue Jays really interesting because I don't think that they're going to command much ownership. And I feel very similarly about the Dodgers. I don't think anyone's going to play the Dodgers today, despite the fact that their offense is a juggernaut, one of the best in the league, if not the best in the league. They have a solid matchup versus Ian Anderson, right? He hasn't been that good this year.
Terrible.
But yeah, you look at these price tags and people are not going to play the Dodgers. So anytime I can get the Dodgers as a contrarian team target, I'm all about it.
Yeah, this was going to actually be the next game I was going to talk about because the total on this has been up and down all day. It opened at 9.5, went down to 9, went back to 9.5. Let's see what the latest number is right now. I'm going to assume it's 9.5 if I had to take a guess. Yeah, 9.5 even money at the over on this one there. But just 2 pitchers that have just been struggling. Braves.
You mentioned Urias. He hasn't been struggling from a results perspective, right? He's got a 2.56 ERA in 13 starts.
Right.
It's the underlying metrics that
correct
are a little bit concerning. And for the record, I still really like Julio Urias.
Yeah.
I think he's incredibly talented, but the strikeout numbers have dipped. The velocity is down. He was at 94 miles an hour on his fastball last year. He's at 92.8 this season. I'm expecting Urias to bounce back because I just think he's one of the better young pitchers in the league. But I do think there are merits to both sides in this game and possibly taking the over on 9.5.
So this is why I'm down on Urias, at least for today. You mentioned the velocity. That's a real thing. This Atlanta club, and especially this lineup they have going tonight, that's one of the best overall offenses against lefties in the league.
The Braves
as it
rake.
Stands right now.
Dude,
absolutely.
No doubt about it. The Braves rake. They also strike out a lot. So
they do.
I think Urias has some merit as a contrarian tournament option. I think the Braves offense has some merit as a contrarian or tournament option. It's one of those type of coin flip situations.
One more thing I wanted to point out, his fly ball rate, Urias, for the year approaching 50%. He's never been that high in his career.
Yep.
Approaching 50%, and the starts in Atlanta. That's where it gets dicey for me. Ground ball rates subsequently down 5% from where it was last year. So those are just the concerns for me. So if this was in LA, I probably wouldn't be as high as I would be on the Braves. But when it's in Atlanta, you start throwing all those numbers out there. The Braves are back at full strength. Acuna's back in the lineup tonight. You got Swanson in the second spot. Ozuna starting to hit again. He absolutely rakes against lefties. Hasn't really shown so far this year, but throughout his career, it was like, oh, Ozuna's facing a lefty, I'm putting him in. Like it was almost automatic a couple of years ago, before his suspension and all that.
And how about Lieutenant Dan's? Dan's has been raking.
Yep, he really has. He's been, I didn't think there was going to be a time where, he was approaching 6K, but here we are. Right here we are, almost at 5,700 for the year. Like that's wild to see Dansby Swanson at 5,700.
Do you remember who the Braves traded to get Dansby Swanson from the Diamondbacks?
Oh, it was a Diamondbacks trade. So this was like 4 years ago, right? This was a while ago.
Dansby Swanson was the number 1 overall pick in the draft, and the Diamondbacks traded him for this pitcher.
Oh, it's a pitcher?
Had some really good young years in Atlanta and then just absolutely blew up. Once I say the name, you'll remember. Right?
I know, because I'm drawing an absolute blank. I can't even think of who it is.
Shelby Miller.
Oh, God. He's a lefty, right?
I don't remember. I'll pull up his baseball reference page while you take us into our next segment here.
Yeah, oh, man. Shelby Miller. Is he still he is still in Major League Baseball. Wow. I completely forgot that he existed. Oh, so he hasn't pitched in 2019. I wonder if he had Tommy John or something, because he was last with the Rangers in 2009. Okay. I don't mean to go on a Shelby Miller thing, but wow, that was completely forgot about him. Wow, brutal. All right, let's jump over to the sportsbook side as Matt LaMarca pulls up the baseball reference page for Shelby Miller and how awful that a trade ended up being for the Diamondbacks. What a blast from the past that was there. A couple plays I like for tonight. I'll just quickly throw them out there. I like taking the Red Sox on the money line tonight. Minus 115 is a pretty strong value for a Red Sox team on the road. They've been one of the stronger teams as away favorites. They're 9-3 on the year as away favorite. That's one of the best marks in Major League Baseball. Going up against Cal Quantrill, who I do not find to be a strong pitcher at all. The only bump that was we were given for today is that Bogart's out of the lineup for tonight. That's obviously one of their better bats, but I still think that they can beat Cal Quantrill and the Guardians tonight. So minus 115 for the Boston Red Sox. It's one of my favorite plays tonight. Like taking that team total over 4.5 runs for the Diamondbacks. We showed you that earlier. I would go even further and say that the 2.5 total through the first 5 innings at plus money 2 as well is also a very enticing number to grab as well. And then finally, I'm going to take the Blue Jays to go over 4.5 runs. I'm going to take the shot here, even with the strong bullpen in the back, but I do think that they can get at least scratch across at least 3 or 4 against Adrian Hauser. They just really need to get 1 or 2 against the bullpen after that point. So I think that's a play worth looking at as well. We got the baseball reference page up? I
do. So in 2015, 24 years old, Shelby Miller made an all-star team. Yep. At a 3.02 ERA for a bad Braves team. Miller went 6-17 and made the all-star team that year. But again, 3.02 ERA over 205 innings pitched at 24 years old. So the Diamondbacks traded, let's see. I had it up a second ago. It wasn't just Dansby Swanson. It was Ender Inciarte, Aaron Blair, and Dansby Swanson to the Braves for Shelby Miller and Gabe Spire. I mean, that trade is like a low-key disaster that does not get talked about enough.
Yeah. And then the first year with the Diamondbacks, 6.15 ERA, followed by 4.09, followed by 10.6. Oh man, I am like so blown away that I just forgot about Shelby Miller. I don't know if that's a good thing. That's probably a good thing that I did, but what a
He's
brutal
certainly not
slate.
somebody that you need to have any space
No,
in your brain
no, no,
for.
nope, not at all. Not at all. All right. Any plays on the sportsbook side that you're kind of eyeing for tonight?
Yeah, so I agree with you wholeheartedly on that Diamondbacks over 2.5 runs for the first five
Oh
innings.
yeah.
Love that bet. All in on that bet. I also am going to side with the Phillies here tonight at around minus 125, I believe was the last number that I saw.
130.
They
Yep.
are up to 130. They're on the road. But again, this Padres team, not great offensively to begin with. Now you take away Manny Machado. I just think that NOLA is not being priced aggressively enough here. I think
Sure.
that the Phillies are the better team. As presently constructed, they have the better pitcher on the mound. They're going up against Mackenzie Gore, and I think that the Phillies against the left-handed pitcher, like they have a ton of guys who just smash lefties. So I don't normally bet favorites in baseball. I like to take underdogs, but minus 130 here on the Phillies, I think is too thin. I think they should be closer to like minus 145, minus 150.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the sentiment I have with the Red Sox. Like I feel like it's just too thin. Like minus 115 for Nick Pivetta going against Cal Quantrill. Like put those two together side by side, they're not even close, right? So why would I not take the Red Sox at minus 115, even if they are the road team here at one point? I think it's a strong play there. Anything else that you like before we kind of wrap up for today?
That's it for me. I'm going to keep it thin today. Two plays,
Two plays.
Diamondbacks and the Phillies.
Couple player props. Give me over 1.5 bases for both Gorman and Tommy Edman tonight. Tommy Edman, I would imagine, is like minus 105 or 110 if I had a guess. Minus 105. Gorman should be plus money. Yes, he is plus 105. Give me the over 1.5 on both of those with how bad at good old Kyle Hendricks has been. You can parlay those too if you want. Parlays are not usually your friends, but if you want to do that, it's Friday. I'm not going to stop you. You do whatever you want. Okay. You have a blast. That is going to do it for us for this edition of the Slate here on Friday. I would tell you what's coming up on Madden, but we have terrible people behind the scenes who don't tell me anything. So they're going to frantically try to type it as I extend for them. And instead
I'll give them a second. I want to throw a quick NBA draft thing out there.
Oh, okay. Sure.
Two things. First, what happened involving the number one pick odds over the days leading up to the draft was easily one of the wildest things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
The odds were an absolute roller coaster. Woj kept saying that I'm blanking on his name. Jabari Smith is going to be the number one pick. And the bettors were like, we're hammering Paolo. We don't care. And Woj was wrong. The bettors were right and Woj was wrong, which is not something you see very often. And secondly, I want to say that Chet Holmgren should have been the number one overall pick. I feel very strongly about this. His upside is Rudy Gobert that can shoot 40% from 3-point range.
Yeah.
Think about how stupid that would be as an NBA player. Think about it.
No doubt. I will say that I got into the Jabari Smith trap and I was not able to hedge out properly. So I just took the big fat L on that one. But you know what? It's like, you just have to shrug your shoulders and go, that's just how it went. Like there was no good, strong information out there that I feel like you could follow. Let me just say this. There was another book that exists. There are other books. There was another book that exists, and Smith was minus 6,000 to be the first overall pick at like 1 p.m. So I felt okay about Smith. And let me tell you, those numbers changed drastically within the next hour and a half after that. And then I went, oh crap, I'm screwed.
Very weird situation. Cause you never normally see it. If Schefter feels strongly about something in the NFL and Woj feels strongly about something in the NBA or Shams or whatever, they normally have a pretty good line, but the Magic really went out of their way, at least with the national media guys, to throw up those smoke screens. It was really interesting to see.
No doubt. And all right, we got the two idiots back there finally figured out it's Detroit versus Buffalo after this. That's what we got coming up on Madden. Thanks for getting that information. You got the entire show to get that ready. We've done this like 20,000 times in a row. We know Madden's coming up. Just get it ready. So get ready. Your lineup's ready for that. It's Detroit versus Buffalo coming up next. Good luck with your bets. Good luck with your lineups. This has been Steve Buchanan, Matt LaMarca. We'll see you next Friday. And the two idiots in the back who don't know anything that's going on. Goodbye.